Hey there. So I'm here today for the Modern Showcase Challenge, and I'm going to be trying something a little bit different today, which is I'm going to be trying a white splash and amulet. So I got a little bit inspired by a couple different lists. So there was this list by Nade with prismatic ending and rest in peace in the sideboard, which I really started once I started seeing people play Rest in Peace in the sideboard. It really makes a lot of sense to me, specifically for the Grixis Death Shadow matchup, because enchantments are very difficult for them to deal with. And unlike Relic of Progenitus, it really just sort of permanently shuts down a large portion of their deck. Whereas Relic, you use it once and they can always rebuild their graveyard pretty quickly, especially with Dragon Rage Channeler. But with Rest in Peace, they really can't interact with it other than countering it on the stack with a Drown in the Lock or discarding it. But once it's in play, all the Drown in the Locks get shut down. All the Unholy Heats get shut down. All the Dragon's Rage Channelers are 1/1s. Luris gets shut down. So it really does a lot of work against the Grixis Death Shadow deck. And also, here's another White Splash deck I saw. And I was seeing Celestial Purge. So I really started being interested in sort of this White Splash type idea, as it gives some very powerful sideboard cards against the Grixis Death Shadow matchup. Though I was seeing these white splash versions weren't playing Eladamri's Call. I think Eladamri's Call is sort of the best card that's not an amulet, in that, like, if you could play another color, you would like to play Eladamri's Call, and just most of the time the mana base doesn't support it. But I think we've been able to come up with a mana base here. I talked with Moniz when we were developing this, and I think we've developed a mana base here that could support this white splash. I think Compuric Crossroads does a lot of work in helping support the white splash, in that it's a white source that doesn't really take away from the other lands of the deck, because it's just coming in the place of Radiant Fountain. And it's not significantly worse than Radiant Fountain, even without the white splash, just in that it helps power up things like Slayer's Stronghold and Sunhome. So in addition to that, we've got 2 fetches and 2 Temple Garden. I was thinking about doing the 3rd fetch, but I was just worried about the amount of fetchable sources, so I just decided to go with the 2nd Temple Garden. And I haven't really felt that the needing to shock myself has been all that bad. So yeah, and so if we count our white sources, we're up to now 4 Celestia Sanctuary, the Kabira Crossroads, these, and the Crumbling Vestige. So that's 10 in our lands. We also have sort of these pseudo-white sources in Dryad of the Elysian Grove and Expedition map. So Dryad can help you make white mana. And then, you can even get Dryad, off Eladamri's Call, or get map off Urza's Saga, or any of your lands off Primeval Titan. So even if you don't necessarily draw one of these cards exactly, you will eventually get the white mana. The 10 sources gives us, the white mana usually in the early turns where we want it, but we're not really ever going to get into a situation where a white card is completely dead, just by nature of the way that the amulet deck is built, and everything sort of tutors everything. So the main deck otherwise is pretty stock. It's pretty much the same thing, other than the mana base changes. But to what I was doing before, instead of the Karns, I've got 2 Eladamri's Call and an Endurance. I think the main deck Endurance is really, really powerful with Eladamri's Call. So Endurance has a naturally powerful card in a lot of matchups when you can search it, and the ability to instant speed Eladamri's Call and then either flash in the Endurance by casting it for 3 mana, or flash it in by exiling a card from your hand. It just sort of gives you a lot of this angle of out of nowhere getting people's graveyard. Now the sideboard is got a really interesting plan against Grixis Death Shadow, and I'll talk about that more since my match has started. I'll talk about that more at the beginning of the next round. Not sure how I feel about this hand. It's got threats, it's got ramp, it's got amulet, but it's a little bit land light. But a single bounce land does fix the hand. But if I don't draw a bounce land, I might be not doing anything for way too long. I'm gonna mulligan it, but it's very marginal. There's a lot of things I like about this hand, but I think I'm gonna mulligan it for something better. I do like this better. Okay. Against Yorion, my life total is maybe not as bad, so maybe I could fetch for a Temple Garden, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think I need white mana for this hand. I don't have the Eladamri's Call, so I think I'm just going to bottom the fetch. I want to get out the Saga on turn 1 and try and get it off before like a potential Teferi. So we'd really like to draw Amulet, Grazer, Azusa, Titan, anything that would allow us to Titan on turn 3. So that would be Amulet, Grazer, Azusa, or Titan. Summoner's Pact won't do it because we can't pay for 2 packs. If we don't draw any of that, we're just going to make Saga token, get ourselves an Amulet. Yeah, so not the most encouraging start, but I don't know. Maybe these construct tokens can do something, can harass a planeswalker. Vestige also is nice so that if we draw Eladamri's Call, we can cast it. Opponent also hasn't cast anything, so... Eladamri's Call. Hopefully this isn't like a deck with Magus of the Moon. I doubt it is. I mean, looking at this mana base, I'd be really surprised to see Magus of the Moon. At least in the main deck. What I really want to do with this pact is I'd really love to be able to do a Cultivator Colossus. Because with Solitude, Titan is a little weak. We're only on 1 Talaria West in this build. So we'll see what happens here. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Teferi or an Expressive iteration right now, or like a Spreading Seas on our Simic Growth Chamber. The nice thing about it is if they Teferi and kill one of our tokens, we at least get to kill the Teferi. Yeah. Might see an ending on the Amulet here. Okay, our opponent iterationed after making the land drop. That's surprising. Maybe they it was just a mistake. Maybe they realized afterwards that iteration was the better play, even if they had already made the mistake of making the land drop first. Dryad's a good draw here. I'm not really afraid of like a Supreme Verdict right now, because if my opponent does tap out for Supreme Verdict, then we're likely just resolving a Cultivator Colossus unless they have something like Force of Negation. I mean, obviously, Verdict into Force of Negation is the worst thing that can happen, but I don't think playing around that makes any sense. Yeah, so probably Omnath here. That also probably means we're resolving Colossus, which should be good for a victory here. I'm doing Colossus over Titan, I think. I guess with Titan, I could get Valakut plus Slayer Stronghold, and the only thing we could lose to is... Maybe Titan's better. Okay, let's see. If I get Valakut plus Slayer Stronghold, then the only thing we lose to is specifically double Solitude, because if the Dryad survives, we kill them with the Valakut. If the Titan survives, we kill them on the swing. So yeah. I think I'm okay with doing this, and because I think the way we can lose with Colossus if we just, end into like Amulet, Arboreal Grazer as the non-land cards we hit, so... I'll just float a white here. One Solitude was not enough there. Okay. So against Blink... Yeah, I'm looking at so this is the list I'm looking at right now, the one by Stream. So I'm just trying to figure out. So they do have like Eternal Witness, Renin 6. So there is some thought to Rest in Peace. Because it shuts down Eternal Witness and it shuts down Renin 6. So I'm expecting they're going to bring in some things like Charma, Subtlety, Force of Vigor, Knight of Autumn, Force of Negation, Aether Gust. So a lot of things coming in against us. We also Generally, spreading season or sagas is going to be bad for us. There could be something like Alpine Moon coming in, maybe a copy. I think generally we can probably cut the endurance. So then the question is, do I bring in the rest of in peace for the disruptive element of the things like the Eternal Witness and the Renin 6, or do I just bring in Gargaroth for something? I mean, they have to Solitude the Gargaroth. They can also bounce it with Teferi, though, which isn't great for us. But just having... So, do I want to bring in one Rest in Peace or run Gargaroth? I think I don't mind just the single Rest in Peace as a way to sort of disrupt the... I guess they have inevitability through just Yorion anyway, though. Let's try the Gargaroth it's just a strong card. Maybe it eats a Solitude, and then that, taxes how many Solitudes they have available to them. What do we think? Do we keep this? I have no faith in this saga actually coming off. Just like it feels like their entire deck is built around blowing up saga. Given that, I think I'm just going to bottom it, honestly. Maybe playing this map is bad because, like, theoretically I could have led on, like, Castle into Vesuva into Dryad, and that gets me turn 3 Dryad through Spreading Seas. Now I'm just sort of asking my opponent to Spreading Seas me. I guess I mind less of Spreading Seas on a bounce land, though. If this resolves... Okay, counterspell. I was going to say if it resolves, I think I want a Vesuva on Ketria Triome just to have Castle up. Yeah, I mean, they have 2 counterspells in their deck. It's not really a card to play around. I don't really mind the ending on the map. I don't think the map was particularly doing anything. I'll play the Forest to hide the fact that I'm planning to castle into Titan next turn. I think they're more likely to, like, tap out for a Teferi or something with me doing it this way. Okay, resolves. What do I actually want here? I really want to do a big Cultivator Colossus. So maybe just 2 bounce lands. I think, like, large Cultivator Colossus is probably the easiest way for me to win this game. They only have probably one more counter spell, like specifically the card counter spell. So I think the Colossus itself is likely to eventually resolve. I mean, it might be something where, they Aether Gust it, or they might force of negation the Summoner's Pact, but then the Colossus is still in our deck at the very least, and we get to Gargaroth and haste it if they counter the Summoner's Pact. Eternal Witness, returning Solitude, maybe? Or Counterspell? Okay. Well, I'll try and bait the counterspell with the Gargaroth, I suppose. If they just have the Ephemerate lock, like, right now, I mean, I think we just lose, but okay, given this, I think I'm going to Summoner's Pact for the Colossus now. And then the plan is to draw Cavernous Souls at some point. Play Colossus off Cavernous Souls, and hopefully that'll be good enough. Maybe I should have... No, there's no way I was supposed to, like, bait with the Summoner's Pact to resolve the Gargaroth, because Gargaroth would just get solituded at some point. That's fine. I just don't want, like, I'm fine with them counterspelling that Azusa. It means that they're getting one less other card back from their graveyard with the Ephemerate, like a Solitude. Yeah. So maybe the Rest in Peace would have been better than the Gargaroth. I don't know. We still can draw Cavernous Souls or Talaria West. The map getting hit is a little bit worse for us now. Maybe instead of the Gargaroth, I'm just supposed to, like, bring in an extra Cavern of Souls. It's tricky. I mean, getting a fast counterspell Eternal Witness Ephemerate lock in an 80 card deck is like definitely a way to lose this. I don't know. I don't know how much I was supposed to like do anything different or play any different to get around them just having exactly and having the Solitude for the Titan, like just trying to provoke, you know, inefficient uses of resources from our opponent. I have to assume even if we get the Cavern, it's just not nearly enough. But, you know, with 5 lands in hand, I'm not going to concede when we can always draw a Cavern of Souls. At least see how the Cavern does for us. I didn't bring in the 3rd Cavern because generally these lists don't play a bunch of cards that actually counterspell. It's usually cards that are like pseudo counterspells. Yeah, I definitely think generally we want to get under them. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll try one Rest in Peace. since the witness locks are the thing that most often kills us. Definitely think Saga is much better on the play because now it's only specifically Spreading Seas that hits it. I'm actually going to keep this hand basically purely on the fact that this is a really good Colossus hand. So we basically just need to draw the Summoner's Pact or whatever. I don't feel like exposing the amulet yet. Okay, I kind of want to Azusa plus call this turn if I can. So I will play the amulet now. And I think we're going to do an end step Eladamri's call because I kind of want to see what they do before I decide what I call for. So if they are tapped out, I want to call for Colossus, I think, because I can garrison and Colossus without fear of counterspell. Do I call now? Well, no, I don't want the call to get Force of Negation. Okay. So, so if they tap out, I'm definitely calling for Colossus. If they don't tap out, I might call for Titan because I might want a Cavern to play the Titan. And this also means I want Titan because that's the one I'll have the mana to actually cast. So I know my opponent has a Solitude. I think I want a Cavern on Nymph here, probably. And just go ahead and grab Valakut plus Talaria West seems like the best. So turning the Dryad into a threat while also setting up for the next Titan. So iteration's good for us because I'm just going to go ahead and move to combat on my turn, which will probably force them to Solitude the Titan, and they won't really have. I mean, I guess they could ephemerate to hit the Azusa, but then we're gonna at least hit them with 2 Valakut triggers off the Dryad. But if they don't ephemerate the Solitude and we keep the Azusa, then the Dryad with the Azusa, with the bounce land, and the Valakut is just lethal. Yeah, so opponent cantripping. We also always have the top of our deck, too. The top of our deck can be kind to us. Okay, so I think if I Summoner's Pact. How much mana do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think if I Summoner. I don't know if I want a Summoner's Pact for another Dryad and play both, because that seems very weak to Force of Vigor. So I think what I want to do is I want to just play the Dryad and start making land drops and force them to react. I guess I'm 1 land drop short of lethal. Actually, I can transmute for a Valakut, and that will make it lethal without me having to use the Summoner's Pact. Okay. I think Eladamri's call looked really good there. I think we showcased the power of just having essentially additional copies of Titan in the deck, which is, really the best threat is always Titan, so the White Splash, makes Eladamri's call quite good. Okay, cool. Felt a little touch and go there for a while, but we got there. So I'll see everyone for round 2.